Hello and welcome to the Thrifty Author. I'm your host, Gail C. Martin, and today we're picking up with more of social media for authors. And we're going to talk about the social media marketing plan for your book. Now, this is an important way to kind of pull your thoughts together, pull your resources together. We've done pieces of this all the way along if you've been following the chapters, but here's the point where we put it all together in one place so you can really take stock of what you've got, what you'll need, and what isn't there yet. And that's so important for both time, money, and resources to know what you've got to work with and where some of the holes might be. So how do you pull a marketing plan together for a book, particularly if you're writing fiction? Well, it's not really all that different. It's not a business plan in the way that people who may have started a small business, gotten a business loan, want to think of that. It's not all the numbers and spreadsheets, although you do need to have an idea of a very clear idea of your costs and your expenses and your revenue. But it's not something you're going to take to the bank. This is the kind of plan that helps you organize your time and resources so that you can also take stock of what your abilities are, where you are best used, where you might best think of, at least eventually, bringing on somebody to help you with tasks, and how you can split up the marketing that you're able to do in order to make the biggest effect and get the best bang for your buck. So the first thing you want to think about is who's your target audience. It's amazing how many times I've talked to new authors, especially, and I say, well, who's your target audience? And they'll say, well, everybody who reads fantasy or everybody who reads science fiction. No, not even for the super big bestsellers do they appeal to everyone. You may appeal to somebody who likes a really snarky and sarcastic monster hunter, or somebody who really likes a kick-ass female character who takes no prisoners, or somebody who is angst-ridden over a previous mistake and needs a redemptive arc. Those are going to hit very different audiences, not just in terms of interest, but in age and demographics and the other kinds of books and media that they consume. And so leave off the idea of everyone and really start thinking, who are the people who like to read books like yours? And this is where, whether your book is similar to James Patterson, whether it's similar to some of Jim Butcher's Harry Dresden books, whether you're similar to Faith Hunter's Jane Yellow Rock books, whoever is out there that you read that you have something in common with, you think, in terms of the kind of story you're telling, that's where you've really got to drill down and say, who's my audience here? Because you can't market to everyone and you can't appeal to everyone. You want to make sure you're spending your time and money and effort in reaching the people most likely to buy your book and enjoy your book and buy your next book. So taking that time to do some audience research and some thinking through the demographics of the kind of book you want to write or that you have written, very important, and it's going to save you a world of wasted effort and money and frustration. Then you also want to think about, well, who, if you had like an archery target with concentric circles, okay, there's your core audience in the middle. Who are the audience, who's the audience that's just outside that? Maybe they'll pick you up, maybe they won't. If they do pick you up, maybe they'll like you, maybe they won't, but there's a pretty good chance of selling to them. Those two together become the audience that you really focus all of your marketing on. And the core audience first, because you want to build that solid readership. Now, you also want to kind of do what we used to call a SWOT analysis. That's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Under the strengths category, maybe it's that you have a concept that hasn't been done frequently before. Every concept has been done to some degree, but some have been done more often than others. So maybe you've got a real twist in here. You flipped the script. You've done something that defies the expectations, and that's a special something, whether that's your character, your setting, or your plot. That's a strength. Maybe it's your organizational skills. Maybe it is the previous marketing background that you have, or the previous computer background, so that you can build your own website and take care of those online issues without having to rely on someone else for help or budget money to have that help. So take a look at all those strengths and make a column with them, list them out. Then what are the opportunities? Maybe there hasn't been a book like this in a while, so people who are hungry for it are going to be very hungry. Maybe a popular series that has some things in common with your book has just ended, and so people who wanted more might go, oh, well, that series is over, so let me try this series. Whatever it is, think about those opportunities that give you a chance to break out from the crowd and the clutter, because the crowd and clutter is going to be what makes it hard for people to discover the wonderful book that you've written. Now, your weaknesses are not your personal moral failings or your insecurities. In this case, we're talking about, where are you vulnerable? Maybe you don't have a lot of money to put behind advertising. Maybe you don't get a lot of time off from your job to do a lot of conventions. Maybe you are painfully shy, and the idea of being on panels or going to a book signing or being at a convention just makes you, shudder in your boots. Everybody has weaknesses. And so think about what those weaknesses are, because you're going to have to plan around them. They don't have to stop you from living your dream. They don't have to stop you from writing and publishing your book and making it a success, but they are going to be things that are very real speed bumps and things that you have to work around. And so you might as well build them into the plan in the first place than pretend they aren't there and then find yourself derailed. So think through what your weaknesses are. And then there are the threats. Now, in this case, your threats might be that you really have a very, very limited amount of money that you can afford to put behind any of your marketing efforts. And so you're going to have to be extremely careful, because there are real world downsides if you run out of money. Maybe you are dealing with some sort of personal situation that might blow up and really derail your efforts to get the book finished on time, or be able to put any time and thought into the marketing. You know what these threats are in your real life. Maybe you have to write under a pen name and manage your public persona very carefully, because for whatever reason, if people found out who you are, it might threaten your real life relationships, or most commonly your job. So those are real tangible things, and you have to factor them in. If you dare not let anybody know who you really are and show your face on camera, that's going to rule out a number of promotional strategies and a number of things. Maybe not rule out being able to use social media, but it's definitely going to change the way that you use social media. So you've got to factor that in. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Then you want to do a competitive analysis. What does this mean? You know those also bots? Well, if you have a book out, look at who Amazon serves up as people who bought this book also bought or also searched for. And that's who Amazon thinks your audience is also reading. What do they have in common with your book? How are you different? Where are the similarities? Where are the differences? How can you capitalize on both the similarities? Hey, if you like this, then you're going to like this, and the differences. But mine is different in this way, and that's kind of a new twist. That's really important to know. I don't ever believe that authors are in competition with each other. Readers read hundreds of books a year. They aren't going to be able, they can't satisfy that with just the works of one author. So you are not in competition with other authors. What I mean by competitive analysis here is, how do you stand out from the crowd? How do you say, hey, I'm the same as the things you liked about this, but I'm different in these ways? And who else are people reading, so that maybe you can take some clues for, what do their covers look like? What kind of back cover copy are they writing? What are their Amazon blurbs like? Where are they getting reviews? Because the reviewers that like them probably will like you. The style of cover blurb that they use on the back cover, or Amazon blurb, that is working well for successful books might be a style you want to seriously look at using in terms of how the blurb is structured for your own book. What does their cover look like? Well, if the covers for everybody else in your subgenre have a certain style to them, that's a visual clue that is signaling to readers, hey, this is the same kind of book you like. Take a look. So you don't want to be too far out of the norm where your book doesn't look like anybody else's book in your subgenre, because then you're missing the very important clue to your potential readers that this is more of what they like. Those are all things that fall under competitive analysis. It's all something you can do with a little elbow grease and time, pays tremendous dividends for a very long time. Of course, we talked before about figuring out how much actual money can you throw at marketing so you can figure out where that is best used. How much time can you put into the non-writing pieces of your writing business in terms of promotion or travel or conventions or other things? Those are all key things that you need to figure out, as well as, well, what are some of the other discounts or memberships or resources, connections, personal people that you know? What are other things that you can bring to bear to help this? So that's when we talk about doing a social media marketing plan for your book, that's what we're talking about. So that's where we are today and for this week. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll be back with more Thrifty Author soon, so we'll see you online. Thanks for watching.